met your dad for the first time in your life last year. Would you want to be a dad one day?
Oh, she took it there.
But how does it feel having to be the one to make the first move when it comes to that father-son relationship?
I raised up £20,000. I built my restaurant in 6 weeks. I did something incredible.
Being an educated black man with an asset in a Western society, in British culture, why do you see that as a luxury?
Because it's not something that many can obtain.
My baby looking too good, yeah, she perfect. No, she worth it. When she pull up, all them man, them flirting. And yeah, she know that she a dime. Call up on my line. Told her, baby, bring it one time. Yeah, girl, sit down and relax.
Yo, what's really good, Dosey girl? Yezzi is there. You are locked in for another episode of our series with none other than Mr. Chef T in the building right now. We are in Paradise Cove in his restaurant, and we're talking about quite a journey you've had. On this episode, we're actually going to be talking about the fact that you met your dad for the first time in your life last year.
Mm-hmm. Adult life.
Your adult life for the first time in your adult life last year. It seems pretty obvious, but why did you feel the need last year to say, okay, you know what, I need to see my dad?
It didn't work out like that.
Okay.
No. And God in his infinite wisdom. So we're going to go way back. So I opened a restaurant. Some people got jealous and decided to sue me. I decided to close my restaurant and declared bankruptcy. I was out of that. You know, I hit my marks. I got my reviews. I was out serving myself. Yeah. And once I finished my ambitions and closed that chapter, I had the room to soul search, to ask unanswered questions, to do the work for myself, which many people don't have the time to do.
Yeah.
And I had to clear a lot of blockages. I had to get the blockage of work out of the way. I had to get the blockage of people out of the way. I had to get the blockage of just life, come to this great plateau of quietness. And when I met my dad, he said something to me like, you did this by instinct, And there's a lot that can come from this, but I want to share that the reason why we were separated is multifaceted, but the system certainly played a part. You understand? Because you have to think that's 20 years of not having a relationship with the person that's created you. And you know what, I'm still working this out. This is going to be an ever-evolving cycle. But I want to share or paraphrase a quote from the autobiography of Malcolm X. And again, paraphrase or so, but it says, in essence, if you take a son away from his father, or a nigger, because that is the word, you're just going to be lost.
Okay.
And I find it's that expression, paraphrased again, so powerful because for me, a year ago, I was very much this construction of everybody else's wants, needs, and abilities, whether it be social workers, teachers, friends, etc. All of these people have played a part in my life or raised me or influenced me, etc., or created part of my ego, my identity. And when I actually worked it out, it was over 100 different people, do you understand? That had, I just say, not intentionally, but it just created this confusion because I didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't know what my beard should look like. I didn't know why my hairline looked like the way it did. I had no contextual identity of the very fabric of who I am. Let alone the fact of what we discussed in the last episode of not having just the mechanics of life, a house, somewhere to be. So we got identity, I wouldn't say issues, but an identity jar. And it wasn't until a year ago that I was the one that initiated this contact, and went and found him. And And all I can say is in the processes and of everything that's come out of it, it's almost like, it's like being in a womb. It's like when I hear his voice, it's like I just feel like I found part of myself.
Yeah.
You know, or even the other day, literally a few days ago this week, I've now met my granddad as well. And, you know, these are things that you lot take for granted. I was looking at this man. It's like looking back at myself. And I was like, gosh, that's what I'm going to look like. I've been on this journey called life for what, over a quarter of a century, you know? Yeah. I've been doing this with no vision of what I'm supposed to be. Do you understand? Yeah. So everybody else thinks this is going to... I have no authenticity or true connection with myself. I've lived a very abstract life. Everything's very isolated. And in the space of a year, everything's upside down, you know? I mean, to think for the first time in 20, I don't know what the time span is, but I've never sat in a room with 3 generations of people. Grandfather, dad, or child. Never had a Christmas like that. I couldn't see the relationship between brother, sister, and dad. It's just people. Everyone's just people. Do you understand? So now I'm suddenly starting to recognize links, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and your actual family tree.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot of reprocessing. It's a lot of, this is the personal element, you know? Yeah. It's almost like being the age of 4 when this relationship, 3-4 when this relationship was broken, and picking up at that age again. Kind of getting back to that relationship even. Oh, yeah, Dad. And I didn't say that until I was in my 20s. I mean, well, 30s, yeah.
So do you find yourself having to relearn how to interact with family members? Because it's a difference, isn't it? With your grandparent, with your parent, with your cousin. Do you have any siblings?
Yeah. I've got a brother. Yeah. We don't, you know, we have a separate relationship, etc. And it's very much that it is relearning. Mm-hmm. You know, I speak about doing the work and or have spoken about doing the work, correct tense. But for me, you know, the things that you lot take for granted, and I say you lot, I just talk about people in general that have the exposure with their family. That's not something that's second nature for me. Yeah. You know? So I'm now having to go through, not arguments per such, but disagreements, tension, you know, disputes. Yeah. Positive experiences as well. And that's not instinctive for me. It's like driving a car. You know, when at first it's all clunky and all of that jazz. So I'm having to mechanically think about how am I going to manage what should be a very natural relationship. And it is to some degree, but the other layers to it, on top of adult life as well.
That you're managing at the same time and owning a business. There's so many complexities, because something you mentioned about when you have family tension is different to friendship tension and work tension. With family, you can have a very explosive argument and you have to go in the same car on a road trip that's about 3 hours. So grudges is damn near non-existent unless it's very deep, grudge-wise. And when you're talking about a lot of things we take for granted, it just reminded me of the fact, and I know it's nothing to compare to the severity of your situation, but I say to people all the time, I used to be jealous in primary school. And I went to primary school in a predominantly white working class area, Bermondsey. And people used to say after school, I'm going to my nan's house for tea. And I used to go, I wish I could go to my grandma's house after school for dinner. And I said to myself, you know, when I have kids, I want it to be in a situation where they have that grandparent relationship, the parent relationship, everyone within a close proximity. Because you could have grandparents, some people have never seen them before. Some grandparents don't even speak English, so you don't even communicate with them. So when you find yourself in Western society with people that are English, you know, traditionally English, so to speak, you find that there's layers that they will never understand or be exposed to or experience because it's just different. Some things are just different. But your situation, I know it's just different. My situation is just different in a sense of, okay, migration, these things happen.
Well, I just want to pause there and say again, and this is why I refer back to always getting yourself educated, because actually it's not different. This is intentional, you know. Our grandparents or parents had to work. Why did they have to work? Well, because I won't say the word immigrants, but they had low incomes, you know. And
Yeah.
I go back to the story of being poorly housed, poorly educated. You've got to provide for your family. That takes away your ability to then nurture, provide, give that emotional stability for your family. So when you're fragmented and all trying to then
migration, stuff like that, because of that. No, it's true, because if we're going to go that far back and we talk about let's talk about it. We're here, this Hey Sis, we're free in the realness. In my situation, because we did say that this is not supposed to be an interview, this is supposed to be a conversation. We're here, let me go off them. My lineage is affected by colonialism. So like you're saying, if my grandparents didn't have to fight against colonialists coming over, they can feel comfortable in Nigeria. Then their children can feel comfortable to stay in Nigeria. And then I myself would then feel comfortable being there. So I wouldn't have to go through that. I wish I could go to my grandma's house for tea, because my parents didn't feel the need to have to leave a country that was fragmented by colonialists. So it's true. These things are by design.
I think for me, well, I mean, you know, again, this is primary school knowledge of being a teacher. So when we look at the fact that this country or the Western powers, etc., are in a war, they got bombed, and then so on and so forth, needed an immigrant workforce, to help them rebuild the land, which actually isn't rightfully theirs anyways, because when we look at the way that it was capitally funded, hold on, not
talk
finished,
about it.
capitally funded, it was funded from sugar. All right.
Yes.
Sugar is not naturally produced in the Western world. Sugar is produced internationally or in the heart of the world, all right, the equator and so on and so forth. So actually, the very fabric of what we stand on doesn't belong to this country or the Western powers. But anyways, we move on forward. So my family, again, started to migrate around here in the 50s and 60s.
And just for context for people listening in, Chef T's referring to the Windrush.
Yeah.
Right,
I didn't even want to say that because it's not, we didn't come on the Windrush boat and so on.
It's
a different narrative. But to give you context, 50s, 60s.
Yeah.
And again, this is only something that I learned about a few months ago. Do you understand? So this is not knowledge that I had in my childhood. Again, the absence of who I am. So when I sit here and think that now my grandparents were able to tell me, and I'm going to give you two stories. One about them coming here, you know, traveling 6 weeks on a boat. Do you understand? So they've upped roots and left their homeland, which was completely annihilated and you know, destroyed by colonialism, etc. That's forced them eventually to come here. We've come here, 50, 60 years ago. Grandparents, or great-grandparents actually, so we're going 4 generations back, did all right, and then slowly you just see us getting chipped away at by the same circumstances that nearly destroyed me. And it's only by the grace of God that I've been able to have conversations now with my grandparents. It's only when they open up, you know, and I get it, they're tired, because I'm tired now. And, you know, I'll share my grand said to me, she was like, had no money, you know, she had to have 2 jobs, so her full-time job and then her second job, and then she had to give up the second job because her children were misbehaving, but then, you know, didn't have the support from her partner. But then I get it, because if black men aren't given a job in this country, and remember, this is a time when no whites, no dogs, no whites, no dogs, no Irish, and all of that jazz. So having been a man in 2024 that's been unemployed and still faced oppression and gone mad and been very aggressive because of that, because I can't provide for myself, I just sit there and think, God, imagine being in the 1980s or pre that and not being able to provide for your family. Of course I'd become abusive. Of course I'd want to drink. So now, remember I said to you, do I have an issue with the people or the system that they've come in? So when I start to study the mechanics of my family and everything that they've gone through, and, you know, again, I hear it with my granddad, he tells me the same story. So there's a lot of new information that's at play, and I also get it as an adult when we say things like, it's not something that we want the children to know, you know. But I guess to kind of summarize that melting pot of experiences, I find it really hard, because the outcome, I'm 30 years old, I'm a 5th generation Windrush descendant. Wow. You know, depending on how you want to look at it, there have been so many systemic, ingrained, institutionalized failures that go beyond me, go beyond my father, go beyond my mum, go beyond my grandparents, to my great-grandparents. So we're going back, I said 4 or 5 generations. You know, it's a lot to find peace with. Yeah. you know, because that's nearly 70 to 100 years worth of trauma or choices that could have been made a lot easier should people just change their attitudes and values, you know? And that's the reality of it. That's all that needs to happen in a very simplistic format. And then you sit there and you think about, this is objectively 30, 50, however long the time span is, that many years of oppression and wasted energy. And I say wasted because it is that. Oh no, it's not that. It's consumed energy. And now I'm at a place in my life, hence why I'm doing this. So I have to sit here and think, am I going to replicate that? Have I learned anything from my grandparents? Have I learned anything from my parents? Have I learned anything from the past how many decades? Am I going to repeat not the same mistakes, but the same trials and tribulations, and let my energy be consumed into fighting something that has not been broken? Or am I going to take that energy and do something positive, proactive, and actually evaluate, is this where I'm going to make a difference? Is it worth me even trying to partake in this system, or is it best that I just start my new one?
Yeah.
You know, and how do I build that, and how do I guess, truthfully think on a bigger scale? Yeah. You know, because I believe everything is equal. You know, if you have 1 year of this, it takes 1 year to reverse it. If it takes 50 years of trauma, it's 50 years to, and so on. So we're fighting a hell of a lot. We really are. And it's about, for me, I guess, trying to work out, and I've said this to you, a digital asset or the longevity. So, you know, there's a very intentional reason that I wanted this to be a podcast, because it's there for the longevity. It's there for a legacy. People can tap into this when they want. They can break it up, chop it and change it, come back to it. And it's about spreading that message. So again, we as people do not repeat the same narrative.
Yes.
That's what it is.
We were talking about that earlier today. We were saying that today, let's get ready to contribute to history.
Just get a tissue, sorry.
No, of course. We can keep it rolling as well. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, with your dad.
Mm-hmm. Bringing it back.
Yeah, bringing it back. What was it like when you first reached out to him? Because at this point, you said that you made the first move. Did you feel, and I don't mean to make you feel any type of way, but how does it feel having to be the one to make the first move when it comes to that father-son relationship?
You know, it's so interesting that you say that, because, and again, I'm very conscious of these questions because I'm still in the process.
Yeah, it's very fresh. Yeah,
it's fresh. Yeah. It's live, you know. Yeah. And for me, I wouldn't even say I'm able to address that right now, because it comes in waves, and I'm like, do I want to even take this on right now? And this is my coping mechanism. Remember I said to you, there's different reasons why I invest myself in this, and this is one of those self-serving ones of my restaurant helps me have an emotionally safe, and it gives me some stability in this, whatever this is, you know, this nameless abyss. But I try not to. Do you know what it is? I had to hear his story. Okay. And, you know, we addressed some communications, caught each other up to speed. But I'll share this, you know, publicly. I've always said prior to meeting my dad, like, he ain't gonna have a clue, because you ain't raised no children. You've got 2 children. You've not connected with them for a very long time. How are you going to have any idea what it's like to soothe us, to congratulate us, to interact with us? Because you just don't have that toolkit. Do you understand? Like, it's not even in a condescending way. You physically haven't been around us, so you just don't have those experiences. I have more child raising experiences than you.
So is that you giving him grace in this moment?
Well, if you want to coin it as such.
It sounds like it, and that's very big of you.
Well, no, for me, I'd say that's the entry point. You know, what I get wild up about it because, again, 20 years of my life have been affected by other people's decisions. That's what the crux of it is. You understand? It's you lot, and I'm going to take it. It's you lot out there playing games, and you still want me to be a fully functioning human being that's not out there doing the things that the media is perpetuating that we do. Do you understand? I'm trying to be a community man, but I'm dealing with the trauma caused by other people. But I have to understand that he's a grown man who has not had the ability to fulfill his objectives. Do you understand? I'm becoming a man. I have a lot more freedom. I'm trying to fulfill my objectives. And I have to sit there and think, gosh, what would that be like in your position? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So that's why I consciously give grace, you know, rather than explaining, why ain't you done this? And remember, I told you I have to evaluate, is it the people or is it the thing behind?
System that creates this?
Yeah. And
growing up, were there any kind of voids that you were able to identify growing up that, okay, this is where a father would have been great at this point in time?
No. And you know what? You know, I look back and I see many different moments. I see many emotional patterns, behaviors, triggers where, boy, any form of adult support would have just been the one, you know? And it is a testament to my personality. I just got on and did, you know?
Yeah.
Firstborn as well. So, you know, there's
heavy is the head.
You know, there's theories, prophecies, legacies. There's a pattern there. But, you know, what I find now, retrospectively, when I look back on my past is I was always seeking him, you know, because the thing is that those that come from a 1-parent, 2-parent, or just any form of parent household, even if you have a foster carer, because for me, I never had that stability. I had segments and units of families. So 1 minute I'm with the aunt, 1 minute I'm with the uncle. There was no consistent unit. So there was no...
So you never had a consistent person in your life throughout your growing up? No uncle, no auntie, nothing?
No, they were always there, but I was always, in terms of what's the word? Not infrastructure, like a home. I was always, you know, 1 week here or 1 week there. Not even like a bedroom to call my own sort of thing. Yeah. And that's all right when you have some form of stability because you got your brother there, you got your sister there, do you understand?
Yeah, that constant.
Yeah. I've never had that. Never. Yeah. The longest thing I've had in my life that belongs to me is my dog of 9 years. Never had anything physically longer than that.
Because you said that it got to a point where it accumulated, that you were shifted from pillar to post to about 36 hostels.
That was post going into, you know, that's 16. I'm talking pre this.
Even so pre-16.
Yeah, just moving around.
Basically, as an adolescent, you were still moving around on a weekly basis to different people's homes.
Monthly, yeah. There was no real form of stability. But I guess going back to the impact of that is, you know, I'm taking it to psychology now, you know. The information or the construction of you has come from the environment that you're in, your mother, your father, the people who have created you, your personality, the tone, the intonation of your voice. Do you understand? Yeah. So all of those things, even the way that I speak now, that's not truthfully from my family. That's absorbed from me being a teacher and raising my voice because I learned to do that. Do you understand? When I'm mumble and talk like that, and that actually comes from my family. So now, all of those things that naturally form who I am, that's in my DNA, it weren't there. It was there, but I've never had the experience to study it, explore it, and now I'm at an age where I have to do it mechanically rather than it just being naturally formed of who I am. So remember I said to you about that quote about take a boy away from his son? So what the long-term damage. So when I see all these things now, you know, you've got the single mother, and it disgusts me to even say those terms, but I look at the impact of what coming here to this country has done to us as people. Yes. Now I do. Now I truly do, because I'm connecting even beyond my family, you know, in this restaurant here, in this space. This is the first time I'm being absorbed into my culture. Yes. Didn't have that as a child. Do you think, beyond a few meals, but music, the smells, you know, the incense burning.
The essence of your culture.
I didn't have that as a child. You know, I wouldn't say that identity issues as such, or
But you visited Jamaica for the first time.
That was when I was in my 20s. That was like 2 years ago.
2 years ago, you visited the motherland, your motherland.
Yeah, but that came from me wanting to open a restaurant, me investing in myself, in my vision, my power, not other people. Do you understand? Yeah. So that all came from me and my drive. And remember I told you, my dad said it's like I've done it by instinct. Do you understand? There's a certain thing that's inside me. And now I've connected with him. He's the same way. Now I've connected with my granddad. He's the same way. I've just never seen it, never experienced it. Do you understand? And all of a sudden, all of the questions that I had about my life and all of that, I kind of started to put them to bed slowly and surely. Sometimes they reignite.
Naturally.
But But slowly and surely they get put to bed because it's like, why are you like this? Or why are you this? You understand? And then when you start to explore them questions, it always goes back to something outside of their control, you know?
Okay. It's true.
And when I'm speaking about myself, but I look at many other people, many other friends, many other families, even down to how we connected. Do you understand? It's like you said something, and it's like, yo, we're talking about the oppression of black people, not just black people, people of color. Yeah. And I just started looking at paper, and but we relate.
Yeah.
And then I've picked up and it's like, do you understand?
Yeah.
So when I sit there and look about the fact that it's not just, I'm referring to my own experiences of where I'm at now, presently, and what I've gone through. But when I listen to other people and tap into them, there's certain words, certain emotions, or certain things that there's a correlation.
Yeah.
That's the key thing. It's a correlation but it's made me aware that this is not a one-off story. It's not a one-off experience.
Not all.
You know, and there's work to be done on it, because for me, I couldn't, truthfully, I couldn't sleep easy knowing, you know, we're going to pass over to the other side, and just thinking that how, for me, as a woman, but as a black man, that the next generation of black young men are going to go through the same thing. And I can give grace to the mums, because single mums, not single mums, black mums, what are you lot going to go through? Do you understand? And I wanted to actually just share this, even down to, you know, me being a teacher. I've I've gone down to the playground, like at the end of school, and you're giving the children away, and you know, mums come up, and when you have conversations with them, it's like, what they're telling off their children, like, you know, I don't want you to get in trouble when you're 15, and and the fact that this is not a one-off experience, but that's having to happen multiple times in my career. Again, you see what I'm trying to get at? It's that my experience is being reverberated back to me, shown to me in so many different formations. Might not be direct, but through mums, through other people, through policy. And do you understand? And it's just like, something must be done, you know? And I'm still working through my processes, but I never put myself above anybody, but I'm an educated black man with an asset in this country. I got a luxury to be able to start to unpick the damage. And
so do you feel like being an educated black man with an asset in a Western society, in British culture, why do you see that as a luxury?
Because it's not something that many can obtain.
Okay.
Do you understand? To get to the position where I'm at, you have to have a certain level of equity, all right? And remember, I didn't have nothing. I declared bankruptcy. So what I had to do is I put flyers through doors. I raised up £20,000. I built my restaurant in 6 weeks. I did something incredible. And now look at where I'm at. We're here. Do you understand? Now, that's not me showboating. Those are metrics. And if you want to DM me or whatever, we'll give you the paperwork or the contact details of my bookkeeper. But the point is that took a huge amount of money, and not even money, time. Yeah? Scrap all the physical assets. Yeah, let's just talk about getting yourself into therapy. We're not talking about the NHS. How are you going to fund that yourself? You're doing £60 an hour. Okay, £600 for a course of 5, whatever it may be. £300 for a course of 5. Sorry, my calculations were wrong there. Don't judge me. All right, but you need money. How are you going to get that money to go to therapy if you're not getting a decent job? How are you going to get that job when there's biases? How are you going to do it when you're on benefits? How are you going to do it when you're on a low income? There's just so much that is against us. And it's like you're trying to do the work to heal yourself. Hence why I'm saying, like, no, when I speak, it's not about me showboating. It's me saying I've tried all the things that were marketed to us. I've tried to believe in your system. I have applied for your housing. I have gone for those jobs. I have played it your way. I have done the research because you lot didn't want to give me the tools or equipment or the time to do it. And even with me playing it all of them ways, you still struck man down, mash up my family. You're mashing up other people. I had to invest in myself. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And I'm now at a point where I'm not only doing the work for myself, I'm doing the work for others. Do you understand? I'm going back through my generational line to set myself free. But in order to do that, I've had to let go of everything that has brainwashed me over the past 30 years. I've had to let go of every form of propaganda that's spamming me in my face. You the must-haves and bun all of that. Yeah. You know, forgive the tone of the tone of my vocabulary, but I just no longer care because it hasn't served me for 30 plus years. All right, and when I think I'm going mad, I just sit there and read papers. Do you understand? You have to
'Cause there's
check
a
your,
reason.
you have to check yourself and wonder, am I really going mad? Because it cannot be real that I'm fighting so much stuff. But I do check it, and it's like it reminds me to stay strong in what I'm doing. Because if I tried to do it your way, it didn't work. I tried to believe in the media, the propaganda hype, it didn't work. I've tried every single way, it just hasn't worked. You know, that's why, again, going back to how we first started, episode 1, I'm getting good at that.
Yeah. Reverting back. Yeah.
No, but it's got to come from you.
Yeah.
You've got to heal yourself. And when I say about getting educated, when healing yourself is not a linear thing. It's sometimes it looks like this. Cool, you've got the theory, the knowledge, the understanding to do it or to theorize it or to think about it. It might not work the next day. You're not stuck because you've got another theory, another way of doing it. And then if that don't work, then you go back. Do you understand? You've got a tool kit, not just one tool, multiple kits.
Don't forget to subscribe to Hey Sis UK so you never miss out on an episode.
I'm also aware that you have your own experiences as a woman, which are different to me as a black man, and that's it's never me disregarding it. I'm just saying on my element. Do you understand?
No, of course. It's like when you're speaking of this healing and the investment that it takes with healing, I wanted to ask you. You get on a plane, you go to a land that you have never been to before. You go to Jamaica, you come off of it. How has going to Jamaica for the first time made you now that you've come back when it comes to your identity? Was it for the better? Was it for the worse?
I'd say it strengthened me, you know, because I went to Jamaica in 2023, 2 years ago, or 22, that was first time, and I did a hotel visit, yeah?
Okay.
So we did, you know, I didn't do up the posting thing, but I got them pictures and I went touristy. Was a bit surprised and taken aback at the infrastructure, yeah? Let me not talk down on my land, because what I noticed was, you know, things like running water and general provisions are scarce. So when people are grabby for, you know, money and stuff like that, it's not because they want something from you, it's because they ain't got nowhere to get something from, do you understand? So it was very interesting to be in a 5-star hotel but see so much of the homeland completely, well, just not on the same level. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Then, and this is where it was really, you know, educational, as I went back last year, connected with my granddad and so on and so forth. We actually had a fallout. we didn't.
With your granddad?
Yeah, we didn't connect. I wouldn't say we didn't connect. We had to learn to adapt to each other. It's like a relationship. Do you understand?
So was it more complex than when you reconnected with your dad?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so with your granddad, different generation, he's in Jamaica.
Yeah.
What could you have a friction about? You're meeting each other for the first time.
Because I'm British.
Okay.
I'm British born and he's not. Again, culture clash, understanding that Jamaica, natural Jamaica, real Jamaica has a different way of life. So when I went to meet him, I went outside of the complex. I was just on real land. You know?
Okay.
Didn't know we had land out there. Didn't know that we have land out there. And that's not me bragging. That's me saying this is my family entitlement. This is what my grandparents worked for. Do you understand? So again, just absorbing that new knowledge and just being grateful for it to recognize. Do you understand? There's more things than what's on a piece of paper. But
don't forget to subscribe to Hey Sis UK so you never miss out on an episode.
It was more about the comparison of the two lives, not the haves and have-nots, the fact of this is what real Jamaica is. This is what has, I don't want to say it's been lost. It's what's slowly getting rebuilt, but it's hidden from us.
Okay.
We don't see that over here. What we see.
Make sure you're following Paradise Cove on all social media platforms. Now let's get back to the episode.
You know, do your work, do your thing, but what you're actually doing is marketing and selling out whole infrastructure that don't belong to the true people of that land.
Because they benefit from the tourism aspect.
Okay, but not even that. The locals there don't benefit from the tourism. That's why they're always asking you for tips.
That's what I'm saying, the business owners.
Yeah. And who are the business? Yeah, I have to get into the microphone.
Yes.
Because it's not, it's this is where my passion comes out, is who owns the land out there. Not even the establishments. Let's talk about the land. Yeah. It ain't the people like my granddad. It ain't none of that. Go do your research and figure it out. It ain't these influencers, because they're getting paid a good couple grand to go out there. It just infuriates me, the whole cycle. So, streaming back to the whole kind of crux of this question, it was just such an educational and strengthening process to go Jamaica, and I want to say twice, because I saw what's marketed out there to us
On your first visit?
yeah, and then I had the real taste of Jamaica, where it was roadside yams. It was real green banana grown from the tree in my granddad's back garden. I was up a tree picking ackee. I was traveling 2 hours between places. Do you understand? For water, for goods, but I saw the real life.
Yeah.
And I even went to a school out there and visited it. You know, I jumped in a cab and I asked the head teacher if I was able to just see what it was like, because I'm an ex-teacher from England. I was absolutely horrified to see that in Montego Bay, it was a private school and it was just so underfunded. You know?
Are you joking me?
No, we're talking probably about 100 children to a class. I wouldn't say underfunded, but, you know, there weren't really any workbooks, any textbooks. It was a very old-fashioned way of teaching, and it was just a shock to my system to see that this...
And sorry, we have to just emphasize this for the listeners. You're saying that Montego Bay, private schools in Jamaica are underfunded. And you're saying that, in the opinion of an educated, qualified teacher, that this isn't something that should be of standard.
Of course not. I was seeing nearly 100 children to a class. Again, it's their normality, and this is not me talking down. And I have to relax my expectations as a British trained teacher, because over there, there's a different, I wouldn't say there's a different pedagogy and so on and so forth, but it was just, I saw real Jamaica. I saw what it looked like being depleted, and I saw what investment could look like in that land. And it just, the experience that I have isn't a one-off one. It's a comparative experience that I don't think many people are going to have. And I can only speak about my experience, you know, because when my granddad speaks about things, they talk about a time when there weren't nothing out there, and they're walking, you know, we hear the stories of like an hour for water. That's him, you know. But my main takeaway kind of from this is the fact that I've gotten to know, I've gotten hidden knowledge, you know. I've gotten a great understanding of what the true picture is out there right now. I understand it firsthand. I understand it secondhand and thirdhand. So it gives me the ability to look through the perception, the propaganda that's created by other people. And do I want to break the illusion? Yeah, but not everyone's ready for that. So I want people to be a lot wiser, you know, with their finances when they're booking that flight with certain airlines. Just think about where that money's going. Do you understand? Because you could just book a flight and you could do your own thing, get an Airbnb. You could look around. Do you understand?
Yeah, and actually put money in the hands of the people.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's how people should be wiser when it comes to spending their money in tourism aspect.
Yeah, because you've got to invest in the economy, you know?
Yes, of the actual people in that economy. Big difference.
You know?
Not
yeah. Oh, no, but
true.
No, but very,
not certain airlines.
Yeah,
not certain airlines.
But very similar of what I'm doing here, you know. And I just sit there and think, thousands of you will go to a hotel, spend thousands of pounds, not even thousands, we're talking hundreds, mils.
Yeah.
Do you think the locals in Jamaica that run that hotel, because I've been there, and I just sat there and I looked at the what's the word? Racial profiling.
Yes.
I saw a few American managers, whole bunch of workforce, again, black, of our descendant, African.
American managers in a Jamaican hotel.
Yeah, one or two.
Okay.
And I asked them as well, interviewed and spoke to people, and I'm just collating data, because that's what I always do. I always look at the demographics, and I just sat there and thought, you got a whole bunch of people, working out this hotel on like what, $1 an hour, couple dollars an hour. Remember the dollars ain't like 5 to a pound? I can't remember the ratios. I'm out of date, but we're talking like you're getting paid less than £1 a day to be here. Yeah?
So are we talking there's some slave labor going on in Jamaica when it comes to the tourism aspect? Yeah. I mean,
depends how you want to frame it.
We're freeing the realness right now, Chef T. Keep it real with us.
Depends how you want to frame it, yeah. But in the sense
but what is it though?
It's the economics of our own culture got taken from us. It's been remarketed, repackaged, rebranded, and sold back to us, and no one wants to really speak up about it. What we're going to keep doing is just putting our money back into it. bearing in mind, just going to throw something else out there. Yeah, you see all these hotels and all these establishments and so on and so forth. They're all probably on a 900-year lease. So what we're doing is just creating. We are just creating the future for about the next 900 years. Every time I'm doing a transaction, I'm, what's the word? Not propagating, cementing it. I'm ingraining it further.
Solidifying
there
it.
we go.
Yeah.
You know? And
that's crazy when you say it like that.
But
Because
it's
it's
true.
true. The leases are about 900 years on average.
Yeah.
The people, if we were to do a quick Google search on who are the, let's just say the people that,
Please,
the
wait.
tycoons.
Let's not even do that. Let's do a Google search. And you see all them food brands, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the big ones.
Was a shocker for me.
Oh, I don't even know about that ones. I'm talking Caribbean, yeah. But you know all them brands that,
Yeah,
I want that beer, I want that rum, yeah, that you think is Caribbean. Oh, I went over there again, you understand? And I looked at real produce, I looked at people, I went to the Blue Mountains and saw coffee being grown. I went to these production warehouses and I listened to the workers and they're not getting paid anything. So do a Google search.
Yeah.
Who are the directors of these brands? Who owns the capital or the infrastructure of where I'm putting my money? Whether I'm over there or if I'm here, it's no one that is of Jamaican descent.
So you got Jamaican products being presented in the Jamaican culture to appeal to Jamaican people or people of Jamaican heritage, but they're not owned by Jamaican people.
Okay. That's as clear in a but that's as clear in a nutshell. So you see, to bring it over here to this country, I just look at them and just think, I haven't even got the time to educate you on this. You are so conditioned into believing that that is the true way of life. Because remember, our ancestors would have made good of what's around them. Someone would have bought them products off them and then flipped it back to them. And it's like trying to break that cycle.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Whether it be through, I don't want to say a boycott, but if I'm going to Jamaica now, I'd either be going to my grandparents' houses or I'll be going to an independent place. And when people say it's scary, it's this, I'm like,
that's what I was going to say. Some people, it's great what you're saying, Chef T, and I'm sure there's some people at home going, what about the criminality of it all and the safety aspect? That's why I'm more comfortable in 5-star hotels owned by, I don't know, a franchise that I'm familiar with. And what do you say to that?
I say know what you're doing, innit? Because just know what you're doing. You know, I'm not advocating go and travel on your own or go and travel in a place that isn't safe. Do your research.
Yeah.
Make sure you got an advisor, a tourist guide. But you know what you're doing? You're paying you see when you go to a hotel or something like that, you're paying for the convenience or the service of someone else's skill set or someone else's ability or so on and so forth. You're telling me you can't take, half an hour more of your time to go and independently plan your package holiday to make sure the land and country that you're going to visit is going to benefit off the money.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, if you look at lineage, I don't even belong to this country. It should be over there in the first place. But, there you go. So I just think it's sheer laziness, you know. I think know what you're doing when it comes to money, and this is why I say get yourself educated. Because
read.
Not even read, just do a quick search. The reality is people don't want to do it. What they want to do is be comfortable.
Don't forget to subscribe to Hey Sis UK so you never miss out on an episode.
What you're eating is a homogenized product that's been created by a group of people that have so much capital wealth and so much finance, so much access to financial wealth, that what they have done is conditioned you to a fake product, and that's all you know. And what I'm trying to do is take you out of that comfort zone, push you past your barriers, make you do the work, not by talking to you, by making you try something different. And you want to come and put me down? What you need to do is take a step outside and go to one of those generic corporate owned brands and then have a conversation with them and yam their food and yam their products. Don't come to me. Because what I'm trying to do is, whether it be here or Jamaica, I'm trying to perhaps heal some wounds that need healing. Let's not lie.
No, it's true. I mean, when we talk about our poultry, when we talk about sweets and snacks
Hold
and our
on,
breads.
poultry. No, there ain't no black butchers in this country. I'm not even saying it's black. Do you understand? But you look at who owns the meats. I got to go and barter with a certain level. No, not a certain level. A different. It's a different race network, to be honest with you. Yeah. And when people want to grumble about the price of curry goat and the price of ox, I'm like, yo, let me tell you something. There ain't no butcher out there that's giving me discount. I don't even make I don't make no money on them things.
Yeah.
We ain't even discussing the energy bills.
Yeah.
The one thing I control is the product and who cooks it.
Yeah.
So when you want to grumble, go grumble to everybody else.
Because you're going out of your way to source that. Because when people are grumbling and it's like, okay, you're sourcing a specifically grown type of poultry and stuff like that. Let's not forget, your meat is pumped with chemicals, sweets pumped with chemicals, down to your bread. And then people wonder, oh, why are so many conditions getting developed medically?
It's all got sugar in it. Everything's got sugar in it.
That's what I'm saying. Sugar, preservatives, you've got different type of agents, steroids. And then people say, oh, why do I get an itch for fried food? Why do I get an itch for something sweet after I've had a dinner? We need to take care of ourselves because it's getting really serious where people are getting severely sick, especially with a lot of people in America as well. The laws out there are more laxed than England. I'm not saying England's any better, but what you're allowed to bring in and out of certain countries in comparison is a whole nother level of addiction that's going on within our bodies. And that's why I find it quite admirable, the fact that you do go ahead and source from people that will benefit from it. And just on a health standpoint, I know you don't have the time to educate everyone, but just circling back to your visit to Jamaica, coming back now, you've met your grandparents, you've met your grandparents for the first time, dad for the first time after 20 odd years. What is Chef T's identity today?
It's one that's developing.
Still developing, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that, when you say Chef T, and I get it now, I'm older. Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, and Ego, it does take a lot of work. It really does. But I'll share with you, when I set up my restaurant a few years ago, I hit my mark, said I want to make a certain level of money. I want to get a review. I want to get a book deal. I want to open another branch. There's something else I can't remember, but I did all of that.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That's what a chef is supposed to do. That's what Chef T wanted to do and did it. Did that in 2.5 years. Again, no one can chat to me. Third time round now, on a budget of £6,000.
You got to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm just going to drop their numbers there and then you can go and Google it so you understand where I'm coming from. All right? Liberate your minds, people.
Yeah.
Now, the goals and the metrics are different because those are all self-serving intentions. I want this, I want that, I want that. But I've done that. Do you understand? I've made a certain level of money. Why am I doing it again? Now it's about how can I benefit the mission.
Okay.
And that, remember I said to you, it's got to be longer, than 900 and something years. So what I'm trying to do is leave something that people can come back to as a model. Because if I've done it 3 times over, it's tried and tested. Do you understand? Yeah. It's tried and tested. It works. It might need a slight adaptation. But if I'm here and we are now doing this podcast, what I want is in the future. It may not be in the next generation. It might not be in 2 or 3 generations. But if these people are doing it to us for about 900 and something years, and it is true, because I've come across leases or had conversations with the people that are on the other side and you probably wouldn't get contact with. Do you understand? So, what the new mission is and what my new goals are, it's still forming. I can't give you an articulate, timed or smart, measurable response. But it's about authenticity and I think that's the main thing, authenticity. Yeah.
Can I get a moment with Terrell?
Yeah. He's here.
He's here, yeah. I just want to tap into that so we know where we're going with this. Would you want to be a dad one day?
Oh, she took it there. Depends on how you want to define that question. For me, my response is that I've always believed in giving a child a home. That drives the mechanics of what I do. I've even made my own inquiries into adoption and foster care. Okay. However, genetically, would I want to bring a child into this world? That's a big question. That is a big question.
Question mark.
Question mark. Yeah, no. For me, what I've noticed, I try not to delve too much into this, but a lot of the world that we live in is constructed for us to make the wrong decisions. We're pumped up on the wrong foods, sugar, all buzzed up, spammed with a lot of constructed media. And remember I told you I've lived in a very isolated world. So now I now I make the comparison of this is what my life could have been, but that's what's happened, yeah? Yeah. And it's the result of a lot of nonsense. And for me, now I'm old, a lot of people made or had children in 18, 20s and so
Yeah.
on, and I hear the same thing again and again and again. I would have had my child with a different you than you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And when people look at why they have the children now, because we're all shoved together in these make-believe environments, all on all kinds and sorts of steroids and drugs that you don't even realize you're inadvertently taking because it's in your food. Do you understand? So we're not in the right frame of mind to be making the decision as to why or not we should be having the 1 child, the 2 child, the 3 children. Do you understand? We're making these wrong connections with people, and we're now stuck. It is a mad thing when you take a step back and look at it and think, yo. And now I'm of an age where I'm 30. I sit here and think, it's different. It played out differently for me because now I'm making the mechanical choice. Do I want to bring a child into this world, regardless of my sexuality or not? Do you understand? Because it's a choice.
Yeah, of course. And that's why I'm asking, would you want to make that choice one day, or is it a hell no, or is it a yes, or is it a maybe?
It's for me, I'm reviewing the situation. I'm reviewing the landscape because do I have the financial, you know what it is as a man as well, in particular, I can financially assess. Needs to be the emotional assessment, but the financial assessment is, am I in a position to bring this life into this world and maintain it? Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like with women, regardless of your age or whatever the situation is, you don't get that option. Do you understand?
No,
particularly when
not the
we're younger.
luxury.
Yeah. So you're forced into that environment.
Yeah.
So for me, I have to look at what the landscape looks like in the next 5 years or so. I don't have a second bedroom, which you don't get as a housing association tenant, nor the policies and bureaucracy. So what I got to do is start saving. I got to then decide, do I even want to be in this country? Do I even want to be in this country long term? So you see, where I'm not at peace with myself, I couldn't have that unit.
Okay.
Because that unit needs peace as far as I'm concerned. I got to be full-centered, mind, body, and soul to take on that responsibility. Because there's no way that I'm going to repeat the nonsense that's happened to me. You know, I've got to have some level of control or understanding to be able to deal with it when it comes my way. And you see, all of these things that I'm thinking about doing now, you don't really get a chance when you're younger to have that open transparency or maturity.
Yes.
You know? So it's so multifaceted. But, you know, my heart always swings to providing, you know?
Yeah, to be a provider.
Yeah, and whatever that looks like, I'm open to it. Because, you know, this thing out here, it ain't easy. So I'm very open to what will be thrown my way.
Do you find that you you're a bit harsher on yourself, having gone through social care, when it comes to the standpoint of being a parent one day? Do you put yourself at a higher standard? Or do you think you put yourself at the same standards as the average person that probably didn't go through that?
You know, I have standards and I am where I am.
Yeah.
And I've learned to accept that, like, you know, sometimes I used to think I was hard on people, but then these are the people that come and mash up my life.
Yeah.
So, you know, me trying to be everybody's friend and keep thinking they're going to get better. No, you ain't getting better. You're now draining my energy. Even I'm still trying to fine tune that balance of what to give and how much grace to give. But, no, I as much as I'm aware that I have pedagogical training and when I deal with children, I make sure it's never at this level. You know, it's very much every conversation I'm trying to get something out of you. Why do you think that? You know, I'm challenging them and stretching their mind and making them think. So it does make me think I'd have the skill set to be able to deal with it. But would I think I'm better than anybody else?
Not better. As in, like, are you harsher on yourself because you went through the social care system?
No, I wouldn't say that. I just think my skill set, what I use to tap into to make a child grow and develop is a different skill set than what other people would use. You know,
yes,
as a parent, for example, yourself, you may use your childhood experiences. When me, I would use university and classroom practice. Do you understand?
Yes.
As much as I can be fluid and that's my kind of underpinning to make sure that I'm drawing something out, which is different to the average person.
Yeah. Oh, Chef T, you have been dropping it on us this episode. A final takeaway in regards to forming a relationship and reconnecting with family. Mm-hmm. For anyone that's probably going through the same situation where they're umming and ahhing with the idea of reconnecting, or they've reconnected and they might not have felt what they feel like they should have felt after reconnecting with a parent or just a family member, what would you say to them?
You know what? You have to do what works for you. And that is I don't want to get crucified for giving out no one, advice, because the thing is, people used to give me advice. I used to look to others for advice in a much less developed state of mind, and then I'd take their advice literally, and then I'd get vexed because it wasn't really working out. And for me, that's why I say you've got to do what works for you. I've only now gotten to the point where I understand that there isn't really a end process, and I think that's something so key. It's getting rid of that finite target. It's a working document of sometimes you're vexed, sometimes you're not, sometimes you understand it, that cycle, and learning to be okay with that. And so could you just repeat that again?
So what advice would you give someone? And it doesn't have to be instructions, but just your opinion about someone who's umming and ahhing with the idea of reconnecting with family, or they've reconnected and they don't feel like how they felt they should have feel.
And the other point, it was more about, sometimes we don't, it's a good piece of advice I've gotten from one of my elders. Sometimes we don't, the English language is awful. I've written a dictionary, guys. It's on Amazon, by the way.
Okay, you better plug it. We're going to put the link in the description box.
I'm ready to the English language, it's awful. I call it the devil's language, but not everything we feel has an emotion. Do you understand? And the English way of being, which we all learned from that Victorian education system, which hasn't updated itself, is very, humans must smile and sad and it looks like this, and we train ourselves to live by and meet those expectations. And then when something doesn't fit that narrative, we struggle, we break down. Not everything has closure. Not everything works. Do you understand? And it's like sometimes things do not fit what we've been taught, and you've got to be okay with that unknowingness. Do you understand? And when I say that, not everything you feel is going to have, as I said, a labeled emotion. Every process is going to have a finite outcome. Even the process might not look like the process that we've been taught. You kind of got to be able to go with the flow. And, for me, what that looks like is breaks. Or, sometimes I engage with the reconnection. Sometimes I pull back and still invest in my life presently. It's about what I feel ready. And that's why I say you have to do what works for you. Yeah. Because it might not work in that moment. You might have to put that down and come back to that in 5 years' time. I've done that for some people. Right now, to be honest with you, I've taken a step away from certain reconnecting relationships because it's too much to deal with. Do you understand? So I think the best thing is always it's a new dynamic. So having that self-evaluating 360 and applying it to that. So know yourself, know what you're doing, be prepared to be flexible. It's a journey.
It definitely is a journey. Chef T, thank you so much for giving us insight into your life. It's one hell of a journey, and you are literally an inspiration to have in front of us and having insight into that. Guys, you have been watching or listening to another banging episode of Hey Sis. Before you go, make sure you follow Paradise Cove on every social media platform they're on. Make sure you follow your girl on every social media platform I am on. Hey Sis _UK is the Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube, drop a comment, like, and share. You never know who could take away something from this today. You've been listening and watching. Stay blessed.
Girl, sit down and relax. Girl, let me put it on you, no time for chit chat. Because she moved like a queen, and I like what I see, and I wanna get more of that.
I undress and he blows success. Lay down as you decompress. Come mine and forget the stress. Got the 9 to 5 cause he tryna change his life. He can't help it but to show his bad side. So for me, just see when he want that good ride. Follow my stride, you know you want a good time. Pick any card, I know it won't decline. He know how to please me, never tease me. Keep me in Givenchy, laced in Gucci. Quick, take the keys and drive to Chelsea. He Escalini, order linguine. He ordered the chateau.